Cymru is a Welsh Government funded programme which has been delivered by Mentor Morn since 2021, and the overall goal of the programme is to help towns, councils, communities and businesses to use technology and data to help regenerate the high street by making data-driven decisions. We're quite a small team, so like I said, Trianne and myself on the team. We also have Sarah joining us this week as well, who'll be focused in South Wales. So for those of you who don't know what a smart town is, a smart town uses data or information generally from different sources, like different sensors or Wi-Fi systems, and then this data is used to run things more effectively, more efficiently across the town, so saving you time, money, resources, and just making things run a bit smoothly. And the type of support that we offer is really a kind of it's not a one size fits all, so we're here to offer guidance, put you in touch with experts and training based on your needs. We hold workshops like this with different specialists in the field. We host different events and networking sessions as well. We also showcase success stories, so we're really keen to share any case studies, and we also have loads of tools and resources on our website as well. Now, before I pass over to Ali, because I know she is going to cover some of the data from Patrum in the presentation, I just thought I'd give a little background to the platform so you all know where to find it if you want to access the data as well. So Patrum is an open data platform that was created by a company called Codegarden in collaboration with Mentor Morn, and it shows data from about 30 different places in Wales at the moment, but there are a few more places coming on board really soon. And this data includes footfall and dwell time, so how many people are visiting your high street and how long are they staying for, and this is based on the number of Wi-Fi enabled handsets in your area, so the little ping that your phone sends when it's trying to search for a Wi-Fi network is counted as a person. So that's how the footfall data works. We also have environmental sensors, so data about temperature, humidity, particulates, vacuum pollution. And then we also have demographic data as well, which is not representative data, but it is data that is taken from the answers that people give when they log on to the Wi-Fi and answer certain questions. So things like their age group, their gender, their postcode, preferred language. So that data, if you go on patrum.io, you can find data about all different towns, which Ali will touch upon a bit later, but I just thought I'd give you some background there. So thank you very much. Don't forget to follow us to find out about more brilliant events like this. And without further ado, I'll pass on to you, Ali.
Cool, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Let me just make sure I do this right. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thanks, Kiki. That was really good, and I'm really excited about the Patrum data, which is at the end of my talk. But I've been playing with that dashboard for about a week, and it's just so interesting. So we will take a look at that towards the end. But the core part of my talk is around online stores and what you can do to really help boost your online store. So let's jump into this. A little bit about me, not a lot really, because I'm not the most interesting part of this talk, but my name's Ali. I'm head of e-commerce at Box UK. I've been at Box for, this is coming into my 20th year, so I've seen a lot of change in the web, and I've seen a lot of change in, you know, how we do things over time. So Box UK, we specialise in design and development and delivery of large-scale user-centred digital platforms. I've worked across a number of e-commerce clients, and one thing I can say is no matter how big the size of the client, whether they're enterprise, small to medium, down to boutique, conversion rate optimization is kind of a key factor for all of the people that I've talked to. So the first part of this talk will all be about conversion rate optimization. So for anyone who isn't aware what conversion optimization is and why it's important, It's the practice of increasing the percentage of users who perform a desired action on a site. So that can mean buying a product, it could be clicking an add to cart, or signing up for a service, filling out a form, or clicking a link. Any of those will be classed as a conversion rate. Now, in terms of e-commerce, the most important and the key conversion rate is buying products. So in this session, we're going to look at some ways that we can help to improve that conversion rate optimization. But before we start with that, let's think about that in hand with overall revenue, because, and this might sound really stupid to everyone, but one of our clients once set us a task to look at ways that we can improve the conversion rate. And a UX designer that I worked with at the time had an absolutely no code, easy fix, a guaranteed way of improving your conversion rate. Reduce the price of your products. And when he said that to us, we were all a bit like, well, no, that's ridiculous. It's just about being mindful of what your target is. If you just want to increase your conversion rate, reduce the cost of your products. More people are going to buy them if you can undercut Amazon, if you can undercut everyone, but that's not realistic. That's not what we're looking for today. So really what we should be looking at is, how can you improve your conversion rate while at the same time protecting your revenue? Because decreasing product prices isn't the best way of increasing your conversion rate. Right, that's out of the way. So what can you do to increase your conversion rate? So the first part of the talk is going to be focused very much around a product page. So whenever you're on an e-commerce platform, if a customer gets to the product page, there's a possible intent to buy there. Now, there's always window shopping, exploring, finding out about products, but there could be that intent to buy. So there's a number of things that you need to look at in terms of your product page to make sure you're making your offering as compelling as possible. And the first thing we need to look at is the performance. So product pages need to be lightning fast. The desired performance rate for a product page is 2 seconds. Now that's really, really hard to reach, incredibly hard to reach. But if you can get your product pages loading in 2 seconds, that can really help to improve your conversion rate. Walmart, take a few case studies here. Walmart, they reduced their overall page performance by 1 second, and that increased their revenue by $200,000. Now, it may not be a direct correlation between the page performance, there could be other factors, but that said, increase or decrease in the time it takes for a page to load can really help with conversion rates. Now, a second decrease is actually quite a lot to do, but it's also worth looking at small gains. So even if you can just drop one thing by 0.3 seconds, that can still have a significant impact in your overall conversion rate. So one of the key things to look at, and there are a bunch of other things to look at, is page performance. How fast do your product page loads? Okay. And then next is images. So on the slide, there's a lovely duck egg blue kettle. So one of the key things, or another of the key things to look at when you're looking at a product page, is images. Now, images are a really strong driver to conversion, because it's one of the key things on the page that a customer can go, yes, that's what I want. Now, it's not good enough really to just have one product image. So quite often you'll see a product image on a plain white background. It's really good to have a gallery of images. So a couple of different images to really show off a product, and importantly, show it in situ. So with this kettle example, it's on a worktop. So it gives me more of an idea of scale and whether it would actually fit into my kitchen. So one of the things I'm going to show you now is one of the things that Amazon are really bad at. Now, what Amazon do, they don't really care about product images. They're just, they're volume selling. And if you do a quick search for Amazon Photoshop fails, you will see why sometimes it's really hard to make a purchase decision while you're on Amazon. So here's just a few I've put together. Now, the first one here, I think that's a Labrador. here. I'm not sure a Labrador is going to fit in that car seat. Now, that is actually very relevant to me. I was trying to buy a car seat for my dog, couldn't find one. You look at the dimensions of that particular seat, it probably fits like a Yorkshire Terrier, but they've photoshopped a Labrador on there. So it's really misleading. And then this pool, oh my goodness, I can't work out here, is the pool too big? Is the dog too big? Is the dog the right size? The child very small? You know, everything's out of proportion, and it becomes really hard to understand then, is this the right product for me? There's another pool one there where I don't know how deep that pool is, but I can't see any of that child's body. So again, a very misleading image. That one's just all wrong. This is a floating pool bar. I'm not totally obsessed with pools, by the way, but it seems to be prime for Photoshop fails. The products on there have all been Photoshopped in. It's not the right size. It's just all wrong. And my particular favorite is this picnic blanket. Now, I'm not sure I could actually get that picnic blanket in the boot of my car, given the size of it. You know, it is huge. Looks portable, but huge. These are just a couple of examples where, because no care and consideration has been taken into the images, it can actually be off-putting. I don't think anyone is going to buy that picnic blanket thinking that it's going to fit a family of 4, all their stuff, and they're all going to be able to hover above it slightly. It's just all wrong. So please, product images, really make sure that you're considering images that they're authentic, they're in situ, and they accurately represent the product, because it can be a real driver to conversion. Okay, and then price. So this one sounds really simple. Make sure you're displaying the price, but make sure it's the price a customer's going to pay. So it can start to get quite misleading if you're showing prices including VAT, excluding VAT, bundle prices, sale prices. It can start to get a bit messy. Make sure the price your customer is going to pay is the clearest one. Now, I don't mean the biggest, but the clearest one. It's really important. And along with that, think about what's called hidden costs. So hidden costs are things like delivery. I don't know whether any of you have, you know, you've gotten as far as checkout, and then you find out there's something's £2.99, £5 for delivery, and you just think, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Hidden costs like that. If you're showing X VAT and the VAT is at the end, you know, again, all of these things can put people off actually converting. So make sure that the price that you show is the price that a customer is going to pay. At Box, we use a research organisation called Baymard, who specialise in e-commerce UX research, and they posed a question once asking how many people have abandoned an online purchase during the checkout process in the last 3 months, and why. 48% of people said they had, and the extra costs were the reason that they didn't convert. So it's a really strong indicator that being very transparent and clear about the price that the customer is going to pay, you have that prominent on the product page, again, helps with conversion. Okay, and then payment methods. So there's a balance here between finding the right number of payment methods. If you have one, say that's PayPal or credit card, and that payment provider service goes offline, and they do, even PayPal, you have no way for a user to check out. So the recommendation is to have a minimum of 2 payment options. So people can pay by PayPal, or they can pay by credit card. I know we've got Klarna on that one, not sure of the ethics about promoting going into debt, but make sure you have a number of payment options here so that a customer can choose their preferred payment method. A lot of people, for example, they like to use PayPal. They feel it gives them added protection against their purchases. They don't want to use a debit card, so not having PayPal could well be a conversion killer. So payment methods are definitely something to consider. And then stock availability. One of the most frustrating things that can happen is you see a product, I've seen my kettle, I like the price, it's free delivery, free returns, all of this kind of stuff. I click add to basket, and then I find out it's out of stock. It is so frustrating. Some big organizations do this. Marks and Spencer's do this. You can go on and you can purchase, and it's not until you get to checkout that you see the stock. So having the stock availability is really important. Now, it might be that your platform, it's tricky to be able to do that, but look at ways that you can somehow, even if it's just showing in stock, out of stock, not necessarily the number that you have in stock, and also if something is out of stock, think about ways on your product page that page doesn't become a cul-de-sac. Now, I can go on to this in a moment with a short case study, but if something is out of stock, can you show an alternative, like a compatible alternative, not a random thing to sell, but a compatible alternative? Or can you do a call to action, asking people to be, or letting people get notified when something does come back in stock? Think about ways on your product page that it doesn't become, a cul-de-sac, if that makes sense. Okay, and then delivery and returns. So firstly, delivery and returns comes under the umbrella of what we call trust indicators. So trust indicators are elements on your site that ease visitors concerned and give them confidence in your organization, in your site, to allow them to complete a purchase. Delivery and returns is really important. Quite often that's buried down in the footer. We don't want to give away the returns information because it's going to cost us, and it's going to mean that our customer service people have to do more work. So we hide away the returns process. We hide away the delivery because it may not be, next day delivery. It might be 2 to 3 days. Transparency is everything, and people quite often will be prepared to wait for a product if it's clear when that product is going to arrive. And the returns information, make sure somewhere around the price and those call to action to add to cart, you at least have a link on what the return process is. If you're offering free returns, tell somebody on a product page that it's free returns. And if it's not, be transparent about it. Customers like authenticity and they like transparency. Things that are hidden away. One of the things, if you hide things in the footer, a user has to essentially move away from the product page. And in that, even that slight movement away from the product page could mean they move away completely and go to another site. So all the time, think about how you can keep your customer on that product page by being authentic and showing all of the relevant information, and that you're transparent about it. And then another huge trust indicator, love them or loathe them, reviews. Now, social proof, it's massively important these days when customers are buying products. So around about 97% of customers will typically read product ratings. So it's really important to think about whether you can have them on your site. So most modern platforms will allow you to do reviews, or you can use things like Trustpilot for independent reviews. But reviews are now considered one of the key factors in trust and making that purchase decision. Super important thing with reviews, and I've got stung with this myself, make sure when you're asking people to review a product, you do that at the right time. And what I mean by that is once they've received their product. So I'm going to use last year, I bought a sofa, a well-known sofa company. Went to the in-store experience. It was fantastic. You had tea and biscuits. You had to sit on all the sofas. Could even bring the dog in with me. It was a wonderful experience going to choose a sofa. Parted with our money, and then immediately got asked for a review. And I'm glowing. I've just, they even let the dog wee on the floor. It's fantastic. Of course, I'm going to give them a 5-star review. By asking at that point, they are capturing the moment when people are at their happiest. Now, this particular sofa organisation, I'm not going to name them. I really want to, but I'm not going to name them. After 4 delays with the sofa, then it was broken, really bad customer experience. You can't get through to everyone on the phone. It was an awful experience. When we eventually got the sofa, actually, it was like, I don't even like this sofa anymore. But if you go on this organisation's Trustpilot, you will see 5-star review after 5-star review, because they're asking at the point of purchase when everyone feels great. So your review timing needs to be appropriate as well, so that you are getting accurate reviews. And before I move off reviews, I know I'm quite passionate about reviews actually. If you own a store and you get a less than 5-star review, or even if you do get a 5-star review, respond to them. So you're always going to find people who will, it's kind of like, I guess, school teacher effect is sometimes called, who will be, could do better. And you might get a 3-star or 2-star, or even a 1-star. If you respond to those reviews, talking about how you can solve the issue, for example, it adds another level of authenticity onto that product page, and it shows you as not a faceless organization, but as people who are trying to not just sell a product, but also to fix problems. So responding to reviews can be really, really important as well. Okay, right, that is product pages. So now we're going to go on to how can customers find you. So it's all great now. You've got great product pages, you've got fantastic images, it's all well thought out, customers are ready to buy your products. Before they can buy products, they need to be able to find them. So the next part of the session is around findability. So aside from marketing campaigns, direct mailers, etc., what can you do to get your site in front of customers? Okay, ignore what I just said. What I meant was, in order to get conversions, customers need to be able to find your product, not your site. People search for products, they don't search for sites, and we'll go through some examples in a moment. So what we need to focus on is product findability, not site findability. Lots of organizations, they invest a lot into their homepage, all of this kind of stuff. Product pages is where it's at. So, and possible for another talk, if you'll have me back, more and more products are now finding people rather than people finding products. And what I mean by this, and we'll touch on it a little bit, TikTok, Instagram, social media is now pushing relevant products to people. So people no longer have to search for products. Products are actually searching out people. So the whole thing is starting to flip around. I think I scroll through Instagram and I see things that I didn't think I needed, but maybe I talked about them a day ago, and then all of a sudden it's like, yes, I definitely need that purple plushy seal. Ha, and there it is in my feed. Anyway, back to product findability. This is where we're going to talk a little bit about SEO. Now, I'm not an SEO expert. I'm not going to profess to know a lot about on-page SEO, but what I'm going to focus on now is something called technical SEO. Now, technical SEO is the kind of behind the scenes structure of your site. It's how your website is set up so search engines can easily find, organize and display your web pages in search results. So if you can do what you can to make your website faster, easier to crawl, and understandable for search engines, these are the pillars of technical optimization. So let's jump into technical SEO in a bit more detail. Right, the first part about technical SEO is around security, performance, and responsiveness. So firstly, security, make sure your site is using HTTPS and that all assets or images are also served up in that way as well. And most modern platforms will do this automatically, but you can quickly check that on your site by in a browser, go into, I think it is the star, I can't remember which one. Oh, I'm in presentation mode. I'll go into it on another deck, but you can see from your browser whether a site is secure or not. And most modern browsers these days, if you attempt to go to a non-secure site, it will tell you and it will warn you that that site is not secure. So make sure it's secure. Then make sure it's fast. So we talked about product page performance earlier, but now let's talk a little bit about Core Web Vitals. Now, Core Web Vitals was introduced by Google in 2020, and it's a way for Google to score the effectiveness of your site in terms of its page speed, its accessibility, its SEO, etc., etc. Now, I'm not going to do, again, a whole talk around Core Web Vitals, but what I am going to show you is how you can check your own site to see how it performs. So I have some examples set up here. And first one I'm going to look at is John Lewis. Now, using a free plugin on Chrome, but there are other tools available like page feed or search console, you can just go to a plugin like Lighthouse, and I'm not going to click it now because it takes a minute, but I'll show you what I prepared earlier. But you click on the plugin, it starts to run a report, you generate a report. This takes about a minute. Here's one I prepared earlier. This is John Lewis. John Lewis have a performance score of 33%. Their site is not that well performant. But for a site like John Lewis, it may not be the be all and end all because they have huge marketing budgets and they can do a lot with paid traffic. So they may not be overly worried about performance. They're accessible, their SEO is good, they adhere to most best practices, but their site overall could be better. Now, fine for John Lewis, like I say, huge marketing budget, they can pay for their traffic. With a smaller site, this is going to be more important because in order to be able to be within the Google rankings as best you can, your site needs to be performant. Another example, I picked this one up, bless them, Smashing Magazine, because they did an article about how they improved their core web vitals. So I thought, okay, let's see, did you? And I ran Lighthouse on there, and fair enough, they've got a score of 88%, 88 points out of 100, so it's pretty good. They're also good on accessibility, best practices, and SEO. So yeah, well done, Smashing Magazine. If it come out bad, I would have been like, oh, let's not use that. Anyway, back to the Lighthouse score. I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but I'm happy to talk through it on another talk if anyone does want to go through what things like first contentful paint means, largest contentful paint. But these are all indicators that Google as a search engine use to understand how fast your site is going to be and also how usable it is going to be. So, for example, the first contentful paint and cumulative layout shift, what they kind of allude to is as your site is loading, are things kind of moving around in the browser, meaning you can't interact with it? Or are you getting big white blocks while it's waiting for an image to load, for example? And the great thing about Lighthouse is it will give you very in-depth diagnostics of how you can improve your site. So some of these may be fairly technical, some of these I don't understand, but it will give you that full audit of your site. Now, this is a free tool, Lighthouse. It will give you a full audit of a particular page and show you how you can save time on that page load. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So performance and then also responsiveness. So what I mean by responsiveness is your site mobile friendly? And in fact, mobile friendly is an outdated term now. It should be mobile first. So mobile first is Google switched to mobile first ranking again in 2019. So having a site that's not viewable on mobile now will really impact you in the ability to get your site in search results. So it's another key factor around that technical SEO. Can you view your site on mobile? Is it mobile friendly or responsive? Okay. Now, the second part, and this specifically relates to products, is your site using structured data? Now, what I mean by this is it's a standardized format for providing information for pages and classifying the page content. So for products, there's an international standard called a product schema, and listed on the slides, there are all the key elements: a name, a description, a product ID, a price, reviews, availability, and brand. Most modern e-commerce platforms will either do this out of the box, or there'll be plugins or add-ins that you can have that will generate a product schema for you. Now, you might wonder why this is important. So if I switch back to John Lewis, I'm not slating John Lewis, bless them, they're not the worst in the world. If you want to see a product schema, there's another free tool that you can use, and this one's called Primal. And again, this is a plugin. So Primal is a free tool, again, a Chrome tool, that allows you to look at the SEO for a site, and not just your site, this is any site. So for John Lewis, for example, if I click on SEO and I look at schemas, I can see they do have a product schema. So they've got a product schema, it's all set up, you can see all the values of a schema here. And so John Lewis, bad on performance, good on schemas. go to Argos, sorry, Argos, I didn't want to pick on just John Lewis, but if you go to Argos and you do the same thing, you click on Primal, you look at the SEO, you look at the schemas, they don't have a product schema. Now, again, it may not be a massive concern for Argos because they have the purchasing power, the authority, you know, they're a recognized brand, so they've got that brand loyalty, and so it may not be as important to them. But for smaller organizations, that product schema is really important. Now, I'm just going to do a demonstration of searching for a product and show you what the difference between having the schema or not will look like in Google. So in Google, if I want a cold, I want a warm duvet. Okay, so ignore the top part, that's sponsored products. We'll go on to that in a moment. Ignore this bit, it's sponsored, it's sponsored. These are people who have all paid to be in this position of Google. So we're going to ignore all of that. We're going to go right down here and we go to duvet store. So this will be, I guess, essentially the first organic result. So the first result that hasn't been paid by that organization to be part of the top of Google. Now you can see for the duvet store, we have got availability and we've got a price range. This means they're using a product schema. So Google's able to pull that in, offering a user more information, meaning there may be more click-through from Google to the product page itself. Argos, down here, when you look at theirs, I mentioned they didn't have a product schema. There's nothing around here about availability or price range. Now, I know they've got a lot of duvets, but so have the duvet store. But Google can take that kind of summary of all the prices and it can do what it did with the duvet store, who were actually, in this case, outperforming Argos in terms of their SEO. And that is all because Argos don't have a product schema. So this is why this bit is important, that product schema. I hope this makes sense to everyone. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to look at is product feed. So in a similar sort of vein to a product schema, a product feed, these are used by merchant centers, so shopping ads, product listing, buy on Google, to give you the stuff at the top here, all of these cards that are in the Google Shopping Center, they are all driven by product feeds. So you can create product feeds that you can then post into the merchant center. This is paid for positions though, so there is a cost implication here. But again, you need to have all of that structure. Otherwise, search engines will reject your product. So even if you try to get paid traffic, you will need a product feed in place with all of that information that's on that slide. Hopefully, again, that makes sense to you. And then let's talk a little bit about traffic sources in terms of findability. So we've talked about different traffic sources a little bit. We've mentioned free traffic. So organic is free traffic. It's your best kind of traffic because one, you don't pay for it, so it's not impacting your revenue. Two, it means your SEO is starting to get right. If you're getting natural traffic, it could be in part to having your technical SEO in place. And on-page SEO as well. The two complement each other. This is tricky at launch unless you already have an existing SEO presence. If you're a brand new business, organic traffic right at the start is going to be quite tricky to get. So other types of traffic that you can get to your site, referrals. Referrals could be good and hopefully free. So think about ways you can partner up with organizations to build on referrer traffic. And we'll actually talk a little bit about this towards the end when we transition from e-commerce to connected commerce. And then you've got your paid and affiliate traffic. So it's not free, but it can certainly drive traffic to your site. But if you're driving traffic to your site, go right back to the start of the talk. Make sure you've got a compelling product page. That means that there's that desire to purchase when someone, if you've paid for traffic to get on your site, please make sure people want to buy products when they get there. Otherwise, you're literally throwing money down the drain. And then social. I talked about this a bit before, but social traffic now is growing and growing and growing. And Instagram shopping, TikTok, people are using these ways to buy products. So no longer are people even going to your site buying products direct via social is definitely a growing trend. So have a look at ways, if you do have a social presence, can your products be in Instagram shopping or TikTok shop? What can you do with social in order to drive traffic to your site and also drive conversions to product sales? Okay. Now, using insight, so data. We've talked a lot about getting your product page all performing, looking at SEO, but what else can you do to drive sales? So one of the things you can do is look at data and analytics. So most e-commerce platforms will have analytics built in, but this is where you can also take advantage of things like Google Analytics. Again, it's free, make use of free tools. The insight from the analytics can really help to understand customers' buying behaviors, and it should be there as one of the key tools that you can use to maximize your conversion rates. Now, what we're going to do now is just look at a very short case study from a client of ours where we used Google Analytics to drive a big change overnight. Okay, so very wordy slide, I'll talk you through it. So one of our clients noticed a certain product page on their site had a very low page value. Now, what page value means in GA is the transaction value divided by the number of unique page views. So what that means is high page views, lots of people come into the site or come to the page, and no transactions or low transactions. So that is a big impact to the conversion. Lots of people are on the site, no one's buying. So we had a look, products out of stock. It happens. So it was one of their key products and it was out of stock. Therefore, they're getting no conversions. So what we did, it was a key landing page on this site. It was getting a lot of referral traffic as well. So a lot of their traffic was coming directly into this product page. It was essentially becoming the new home page. All we did on this was to showcase an alternative product. So we basically showed a product that was in stock, that was compatible, that someone who was landing on the one particular product would go, okay, no, but I can get this one instead. And they saw an improvement in their page value of 2,000% overnight. So by simply offering an alternative that was a viable alternative, not a random product. Oh, you want this kettle? No, don't worry, but how about these slippers? That's not what we're looking for here. We're looking for how about this kettle instead, you know? Just by doing that, increase their page value by 2,000%. So it really does show the value of data and insight in order to drive sales, and using things like GA, which also free. I'm a lover of free tools. I mean, Primal, Page Speed, all of that kind of stuff. It's all out there. So use it. Make use of these tools because they're there to help you. Okay. And now a little bit about connected commerce. So we've looked at ways to make products more findable. We've looked at ways to optimize the conversion rate through core web vitals and SEO. But what else can you do to improve customer retention? So loyal customers really help to boost your profits. If you've got returning customers, that can really help with that conversion rate. And if you've got a physical store as well as an online store, you can sort of start to look at how can I use connected commerce. So connected commerce is a term for you've got online, you've got retail, it's kind of like omni-channel, as well as traditional strategies like email campaigns, referrals, are the ways you can bring online to in-store. Now, if your customers are anything like me, even though I'm an online shopper and part of my job is to look at the online space, so I'm fully in with online shopping, but I still like a physical retail experience. It's still important to me, and I'm a real touchy-feely shopper. I'm one of those annoying people that go in and pick everything up and go smell everything and, you know, feel the fabric. I really like that physical experience. So if you have opportunities to do that, if you want to drive from online to retail, what are some of the things you can do to bring those online people into your store? So there's things that you can do like click and collect. Click and collect has been really successful for a lot of organizations, both small and enterprise, where you offer free, so no delivery costs. So it's free if you want to come in store and collect your product. Can you do this? Because the advantage of doing this is One, it reduces the overall fulfillment cost. Two, you're bringing someone to your store. If you can bring somebody to your physical store, there's a chance you can get an impulse purchase, you know, the kind of the old sweets at the checkout analogy, where you can offer in-store opportunities as well. So we talked about QR codes. A QR code, if you've got things like in your visual merchandising, can you have QR codes there? Now, QR codes, they come in and out of favor, much like yo-yos, but they're very much in at the moment. Scan that, 10% off in-store or 10% offline. So you're bridging that kind of online and retail experience. Or could you look at store collaborations? If you're in an area where, when I talk about store collaborations, which is, it's kind of like partnering up. Let's think about coffee shops and bookstores, Waterstones and Costa. You know, Waterstones used to be just books, Costa sold coffee, then they collaborated, they have these partnerships, you go in Waterstones, there's Costa. Are there potential opportunities in your area on ways that you can collaborate with other stores? So by selling some products from another store, obviously not competitors, but get to know the people around you, get to know what people are buying in the area as well. That's all really important in terms of that connected commerce. So bridging that, you've got your online, you've sorted your online out, and then your physical presence as well. Think about ways you can engage with other people in your area with that connected commerce experience. And talking about area, and I know Kiki, you talked about this at the start, let's take a look at Patron. So when I first started talking to smart towns, and I think Kiki mentioned this on one of the first calls, I found it and I set this dashboard up myself, and I'm quite proud of this actually. This is a Patron dashboard for Portmatic, and it's showing all the data from the last month. So in December, now obviously December is going to be quite a busy time, but there's loads of data here you can use for your organization or for your area. You can see visit duration, the visitor count, passerby counts. You can see the access points. Oh, I scrolled around in the wrong place. I'll get that one back. You can see age group, gender, the postcode area, language preference. And I know, Kiki, you introduced some of this at the beginning, but I just want to show you really quickly how fast it is to set this dashboard up. Because when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, okay, how am I going to do this? So I hope this works now. I'm just going to remove all panels. And then down here, and I honestly have done this with no coaching from Smart Towns, so it is really, really easy to use. If you use the little arrow here on the right hand side, I can look at, let's look at visitors, and I will go to Blaenau Fistiniog this time. I can look at duration, the visitor count, the passerby count. I can just add these panels in. So you can see for your particular area, hopefully that one will load. That one does take a little bit longer. So I've got some visitor information, but I want more information. So I'm now, let's go to the Wi-Fi users. Here we go. And I can look at here. I can pick all of this. I won't pick all of them. Let's just pick some of them. But this is how quickly I can set up a dashboard about my area. I can start to use this to understand about footfall, who's in the area, who and the purpose of their area. I think there's one panel, I haven't loaded that one, which says why they're here, they shopping. You can start to use this data then to make more decisions about the in-store experiences, who's around you. And Kiki, I'm going to hand over to you now if there's anything else that you want to say about Patron.
Yeah, thank you. It's first of all, it's absolutely great to hear that you've got on really well with it without coaching. That's really great to hear. Thank you. Yeah, there's all kinds of insights really that you can get from the demographic information. We do stress that obviously the demographic information is based on logins, so it's not representative, but we do, I don't know, some of you might have been in some of our previous workshops where we actually play a bit of a game and we get people to guess the town based off the profiles. So based off like the dominant purpose of visit and the use of language and things, most local people can tell which towns we're talking about from the data. So that's really cool. And then obviously, like you said, with your marketing, there are loads of different possibilities there, you know, when you combine gender, age and purpose of visit. You know, if you find that you have you know, men, middle age, purpose of outdoor activity, well, what are you going to be selling them then? And I think that's something in Blaenau actually that we're really missing out on. Not having that kind of outdoor shop. So we kind of try and encourage people to engage like this with the data and see if there's some kind of something that they're missing out on. We also have some really funny instances as well with the data. So we were looking at Pwllheli High Street before Christmas, and we found that in the run up to Christmas, it was all kind of female dominated on the high street. And then in the last 2 days, the number of men really outweighed the number of women. So that's something, obviously it always gets a bit of a chuckle in the workshops, but you know, you could also say, okay, well, hang on a minute, the men are also last minute. Shall we offer some kind of hamper that they can just pick up? You know, there's loads of different opportunities like that. Once you dig into it, I think you can be really quite creative with the data. Another thing that's really important to us at Mentor Morn as well is the Welsh language. So we're able to see the choice of language that people choose when they log into the Wi-Fi. And this, in fact, will underreport the number of Welsh speakers because unfortunately, lots of Welsh speakers actually find it easier to read stuff in English. So even though there is that kind of bias, we still see a really strong presence of Welsh speakers in a lot of these kind of shopping towns, whilst the businesses aren't necessarily offering a service in Welsh to those customers. So, you know, obviously you should be serving the community in the language of their choice, but also you're missing out on a commercial opportunity as well in doing so. So yeah, I could talk for hours about it, to be honest, but I think that's probably enough from me.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thanks, Vicky. And I think that is all. So, does anyone have any questions about anything I've covered? No, that's okay.
That was brilliant, Ali. I learned so much there. It was really, really interesting. Thank you.
Awesome, no worries. And I know it's a lot, and I know I get quite animated about some of it, and I certainly don't hate John Lewis. I just think, don't be so lazy, John Lewis. But it just goes to show some of the things you can do with free tools, how you can keep checks on your site and really help to maximize that conversion rate. Trevor, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you for your talk. Very, very informative. I live in Mould, and I thought Mould was part of the scheme, but looking on there, it doesn't seem to be. I was wondering if Mould has changed their mind or whatever. I know they're having sensors set up a while ago, but I don't know what's happened with it.
Yes, thanks, Trevor, for your question. Mould does have data. They don't share it publicly on Patreon. That's the difference there. So Mould has the Cisco Meraki Wi-Fi system, and you can access that data through your regen officers. So I'm happy to put you in touch with somebody there, if you'd like access to that data.
I know the people on the town council, so that's not a problem.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah. So Joanne has access to that data for you.
Well, Joanne's no longer there now.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Joe Lane.
Oh, yeah, that's who I meant. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant the other
Yeah.
Joanne that used to be there.
Oh, right.
Right. Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, I guess if there's no other questions, we can wrap it up. But if you do have questions, obviously, feel free to reach out to me, allie@boxuk.com, or through Kiki and the team. Yeah.
Would you be able to share your slides with us, Ali, and then I can send them out as well?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. I'll send them over this afternoon.
Fantastic, thank you. And this session, as you know, has been recorded, so that'll be on our YouTube as well, so you can always watch back. I think, like you said, there's a lot of information there, so it might be worth popping back, you know, especially with those free tools. I think they're great. Definitely look into those a bit more.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you, Ali. Great presentation, and thank you all for joining us. And yeah.
See you soon.
Thank you. See you soon. Take care.